everybody. Welcome. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. And today on Dat Fury Radio, something a little bit different, a monologue with examples. I've been thinking about the question that Royce asked me on last week's show and my answer about playing guitar solos and playing lead guitar. And I thought I could come up with a better answer and show you some of the tricks that I have used in the past and continue to use to create lead guitar solos, textures, atmospheres, and different things like that. I got a clearer answer of what I was actually trying to say to Royce. Royce asked me in last week's show what's something I've been intentionally working on. And I answered, playing lead guitar, playing guitar solos. And specifically, what I wasn't able to articulate last week was that doing guitar solos on the 404 and in that environment let me think and play like a producer instead of as a guitar player. Thinking about a solo as a guitar player is very intimidating for me, but thinking about a producer, that's something I know how to do. I know how to record. I know how to fit a part into a song. And so that was kind of what unlocked it for me. So I'm going to go through some examples, starting with earlier stuff I've done that I would consider not guitar solos, but that got the job done production-wise within the song that I was working on. And then I'll get into some of what I consider guitar solos. I'm not counting riffs or parts or textures or arpeggios, repetitive parts. I'm not counting that as a solo. When I say solo, I mean in the Scott Morris saxophone sense, more melodic than tracing out harmony or chords, more one note at a time than multiple notes at a time, more changing and evolving and going on a journey rather than repetitive. And I'm going to start with an example from 2014, my album Ventura, and the song is We're in Love. And this lead guitar part, and here's trick number one for not playing a solo, but covering lead guitar. And the answer is Peter Buck from REM. Love Peter Buck, love especially the earlier REM stuff. And he is just fantastic at using a rhythmic guitar figure to fill the space of lead guitar, or to do the function of lead guitar. He is playing lead guitar from a certain point of view. It's not a solo, but it is a lead, the way that I'm using the words. And that this part I'm going to play doesn't sound a whole lot like Peter Buck, but in terms of the function within the song, it's very similar and takes some real inspiration, at least to my ears. So here we go.
Of friends, we were an answer to each other.
So there you go. That figure comes back in different sections of the song, but basically an arpeggio-based lead part that outlines the chords and goes on links the chords together with a little bit of a melodic journey. Next up, from 2018, a song I did with Corey under the band name Cool Drugs called So Far to Go. And this is an example of a riff, something in kind of the Mars Lights vein, inspired by working with Drew and the music that we've made together. So that's the trick, is to play a riff, and the twist on the trick is to just change the ending of the riff to make a variation. So this riff is kind of AAAB. The last one, the fourth repetition, has a different ending that kind of spins it around a little bit. This song also has a great riff from Corey. But first of all, the riff I'm talking about comes at the end of the chorus.
We got so far to go.
So I described it incorrectly slightly earlier. So it's like A, A, B. Then it follows the chords for a second and then takes off up the scale for the ending. So it's even a little more varied than I initially described it. But I got away. It's certainly not a solo in the sense that I define solo. But it fills the part. I like the riff. I think it's fun and bouncy and fits in well with the song. And repetition of a riff is the trick there. So here's more of a texture, something that leans a little bit heavier into effects, delay, in this case. And you could call this certainly inspired by The Edge from U2. He's another guitarist who I love. The Edge can play a ripping solo, but mostly chooses not to. Mostly chooses to play his classic, echoey, more repetitive parts. And that's what I chose for this song. This is the outro to my remix of Approaches They Come at Night from MS Ride Presents a Weirdest Beat Tape. Let me grab that. So it's that left channel arpeggio with a rhythmic delay down and back up the scale. I like that part a lot, not to toot my own horn too much. What I want to show you about it is how the execution of the part is all in the choices and picking the notes and picking the effects, but playing it is very simple part to play, very clean. Just down, single note downstrokes. Da 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 dum 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 dum. Just on the downbeat. And so the trick there is think about the Edge a little bit. Use rhythmic delay. Dual time delay, and a section of a song can be filled entirely with choices. You don't have to shred. You can plan it all out and have it. I think pull it off. I'm not. This is the part to say I should have said at the beginning. Maybe I'm not a great guitarist. I'm certainly not a great soloist, and that's not what this show is about. This show is to share some of my tricks and some examples, and if you can get any mileage out of them, good for you, because this is something I've really struggled with and had to try and find creative ways around playing a shreddy step to the front of the stage and turn the spotlights on type of solo, and I've found some different ways around it over the years, mostly using my ears to grab stuff from other players and thinking ahead and planning and making my choices ahead of time, so that when I have to play and the mics are on, it's actually the playing part is pretty simple. I've done the work through the writing of the little part. The next one is an actual lead, I would say, not a solo, but it's just playing the melody. That's a trick that Weezer almost abused on the Green album, though I like the Green album, unlike a lot of those songs, but so many of those songs, the guitar lead is just playing the vocal melody, and that can be super effective. This is the song Look the Other Way from my album Fight Songs 2022, and this is an album, when I was talking with Corey about this podcast, he remembered there being a lot of lead guitars on this album. I listened to the whole thing. Now Drew has a couple songs where he is the guest and does the feature and does a big solo, and those are fantastic. This part I'm going to play you, and it's only the intro. Even in my memory, I thought this was the bridge and happened a couple of times. It only happens once. It's only on the intro. And this is the only thing that remotely qualifies as a lead guitar on fight songs. So that's the lengths I went to avoid playing lead guitar on this album. Is I could only find this one single spot on the whole record where I actually did it.
You think.
That's it. Little octave fuzz, and that's all it is. So those are the tricks. Playing like Peter Buck, playing like The Edge, playing like Weezer's Green album, and playing like Drew, or playing like Mars Lights. Those are all the tricks. Now, the one, prior to the more recent stuff I've been doing, the one time you could say maybe that I played a guitar solo was on a song of Corey's from 2016's Dreams Really Do Come True. The song is What Do You Want From Me? And the ending has this call and response thing with 4 guitar phrases that basically meet the definition of a solo that I set out earlier in this episode. So they're all different. They're fairly linear. They're not improvised. I mean, I started out improvising and came up with some phrases I liked and played them several times and picked the best one. But to the extent you would consider this a solo, it's kind of on the bubble. This would be my first and only guitar solo prior to some of the more recent stuff I've been doing.
Because you already got what you wanted, and it burns me to the core. Why don't you ever say you love me anymore? Why don't you ever say you love me anymore? Why don't you ever say you love me anymore? Say you love me anymore.
So arguably 3 phrases, and the last one just follows the chord changes, I think. So nothing too adventurous there, but that's what I was capable of in 2016. So that's the dividing line. Now let's get into the more recent things that you could actually consider solos. And I will have some tricks for these as well. I'm building on some of the same tricks, including repetition and variation, using delay and echo. And I'll go ahead and play the first one. It's from 2023, the song Time Organ from the album Frog on the King's Head. And yeah, I would consider this my first solo. It's improvised. Much less planning and writing ahead of time than all the previous things. This solo takes the place of the second verse, so there is no second verse in this song. There is just the solo. Lots of delay, lots of space, which I like in my solos. And yeah, stop talking, start listening.
I can't escape the light. And no ghosts remain our time.
And the guitar continues to do those little fills in between the vocals throughout the song. A couple things jump out at me on listening. I mean, the guitar solo itself is very much in call and response with the bass. The bass has a kind of linear melodic thing and is not improvised, but there's a lot of variations in the bass throughout the song, so that in the spaces in the guitar solo, including at the start of it where the guitar isn't playing, the bass is kind of doing something and they're going back and forth. What I hear in that's not in any of the earlier stuff, there's dynamics, there's touch sensitivity and expression through how hard the notes are being hit, versus the earlier stuff I'm just kind of hanging on for dear life, trying to perform the part. There's hammer-ons and a bend and some of those expressive guitar things that aren't in any of the earlier examples. And there wasn't... The key to getting here, to the extent that there was one, was just having the pressure off. And some people find their way... Some people never feel the pressure or find their way around it naturally. For me, it was just the low stakes of working on the 404 and knowing that this was a weird song with a weird sample and doing weird things with the pattern sequencer and just feeling free. And obviously the different tips and techniques and ideas picked up over the years, but the breakthrough wasn't technical. It wasn't so much in my fingers or in practice, that those things are important. It was in my brain and in my attitude and in my mindset and in my approach to the part. And again, not a technically great solo by any means, but a personal best. That's all I'm trying to say. Another song, this is a slight detour, and more picking up where the previous tips and tricks of repetition. But another song, there's some good guitar stuff, I think, on that record. And another song, Farewell My Lovely, has some cool guitar parts, including a harmonized lead. And the way that it gets harmonized, the first part comes in, then the second part, it ends up filling a lot of space due to the way the harmonies overlap, but they don't start out happening at once. First one, then the other. It's a 4-bar. Let's see, how many bars is it? There's 2 good 4-bar phrases in this song, guitar phrases, and the earlier one becomes an 8-bar phrase when the harmony happens. Disappear in a maverick. So as the higher one continues to play, this is a cheat code, right? So that's one idea basically. Da 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 da. It's got 4 different endings, so it's the same phrase to start with. It's ended 4 different times, and then that larger structure gets harmonized to double the length again. So all of a sudden, all this time gets filled in an enjoyable way, at least to my ears, with basically a 2-note guitar phrase. And that's the kind of cheat code I'm trying to share with you today. Here's another. The end of the song has a different phrase. I think of it as kind of a Bowie thing. Here it is. Simple phrase, lots of phaser, delay. And that's it. Farewell, my lovely. Just a groove, really, but a groove that I really, really enjoy. So back on the main line of guitar solos. Here's something I'm working on but isn't released yet. This is a song called Impending Phases from the project I Am the Brute Squad, and it's another 404 based project. Jams that started on synthesizer and drum machine, moved to the 404 for production and effects, added guitar on the 404. And this, I think I'm going to have to play most of the song because this isn't a big solo, but it has call and response fills, guitar fills throughout, and there's lots of punch effects, so momentary 404 style effects to bring the guitar forward or back or do different things to keep it interesting. So here's a little treat, the unreleased Impending Phases from the upcoming I Am the Brute Squad MS Ride project.
Isolation, impetus of impending phases. Rapidly ravaging any sense of isolation, impetus of impending phases. Rapidly ravaging any sense of isolation, impetus of impending phases. Rapidly ravaging any sense of isolation, conscious and pushing every rush of decaying data.
So the trick here, the lesson for that atmospheric lead, is combining a kind of arpeggio with some simple step movement. So there's two arpeggios, do do da 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 da, and then some step movement, da 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 da, and simple as that. Technically very easy. Effects doing a lot of heavy lifting, delay, auto pan. I don't remember specifically, but I hear some phase, maybe some glitchy. It's hard to separate what's on the beat versus what's on the guitar. Some tremolo right there.
any sense of isolation.
And I didn't play this guitar part all the way through. I made samples, long samples, but samples, and triggered them and sequenced them.
Rapidly ravaging, crushing it. Rapidly crushing it. Crushing it. Rapidly ravaging, rapidly crushing it. Rapidly crushing it. Crushing it. Crushing it. Rapidly rushing it, rapidly ravaging, crushing, rapidly rushing it, crushing it, rapidly rushing it.
So that long series of samples that makes up the guitar lead part, I would say, you know, more the arpeggio and the full phrase at the beginning, and then as the song gets noisier and builds, it kind of focuses in on that last sample from the phrase and increasing the use of effects and just making it weirder and noisier and building it that way. So we've come to the moment of truth, kind of the current snapshot of where I've got to, my current personal best, I feel like, as far as taking a guitar solo goes. This is going to be another unreleased song. This is Mid-Phase, the opening track from Jam My Wave, the big rock song, one-man band project I've been working on for 2 or 3 years now and will be for another year or two. This is not even a rough mix, so this is just a raw snapshot of where I'm at in the tracking process. The vocals are scratch vocals. This is not the real vocal track. All the instruments are basically in there except for maybe some additional percussion and keys, so we'll see about that. But this is very much a work in progress. I'm gonna skip ahead. What am I gonna do? I'm producing and editing and mixing this live as well as performing, which is a whole trip. I'm just going to play the whole thing. I won't play the outro theme of the podcast. How about we'll just go out on this. I'll talk up until the solo. There's kind of a bass solo, and then it goes into the real guitar solo. and then the guitar plays some fills through the end of the song. But this is kind of, there's not a lot of tricks here. I'm playing and I'm coming up with different phrases, and there's not a ton of delay. There's not a ton of repetition or an arpeggio type thing. This is really taking a solo. Whatever you think of it, I don't love it. I wouldn't say probably, but it works. It works in the song. It's a personal best for me, and that's something you got to be satisfied with that. If you can't be satisfied with that, you'll never be satisfied with anything. So choose to be satisfied. Here's that bass solo. Enjoy this peek at a work in progress, and we'll see you next week on Dat Fury Radio.